Hello. This is the daily Human Design Energy Report for March 30th in 2023. So the sun is actually transitioning into the next gate. We're in a little bit of a transition day. We have a little bit of the sixth line energy still here, as well as coming into this next gate. And so, gate 21. So this is coming from our heart center going up into the throat. And it's the gate of self regulation. And so the challenge here, so this is our overall theme for the next 6 days, where we're going to have opportunity, right, to practice this, to build strength, is to learn to let go, to become proficient at self-regulation, to release the need to control others and circumstances, to trust in the divine and to know that you are supported, knowing that you are worthy of support and that you do not have to overcompensate. And so remember, this is coming from the heart, our ego, and knowing that we do not need to overcompensate. We don't need to have to prove anything to anybody. And a lot of the times that's what we tend to do, right? With that overcompensation. And so that's going to be the theme overall for this energy, but we're going to kind of break it down and look at it by each line. Let's I'm going to go a little backwards, and I'm going to come into that role model line, because we're going to have a little bit of this. So we were just leaving gate 17, coming from our third eye going down into the throat. So both of these gates still are focusing on the throat. So there's going to be a lot of similar energy, right? It's still about manifesting. It's still about speaking about it. And so this is actually called Bodhisattva. And so this is the perfected following, one with the same as perfected leading. And so I know perfected is a term we use very generously, very lightly, because there's no such thing as perfect, but really have finding that balance. How do we find the balance of being the nurturer, but also being the one that can see the path and see the circles outside the path, and kind of be open to it. And so it's the great nurturer. The nature of this position is to be always positive, the possibility and understanding the nature of independency, and to express opinions and the values of others. But then also understanding where it's achieved, having the opinion is nothing else to learn. And so we've perfected, like, which opinions do we speak about, right? So this is the third eye coming up and down. So which thoughts, which things do we speak about? Which ones do we kind of hold back? And this is that finding that energy. And so now as we shift into gate 21, self-regulation is what we call it in the quantum human design. In the I Ching, he calls 21 biting through. And so the first line, that investigator line, is warning. And so we're figuring this out. It's to use force as a last resort. Yes, we should always use force as a last resort. The fierceness to be respected without the resource to action. The willpower and the ego to ensure respect. The inherent peacefulness that is all too often turns to a necessary warning into a plea, a lack of power that is forced to ask for respect. And so challenging on that, right? That letting go, that surrendering, that releasing, and not needing to beg. You shouldn't have to beg or convince people. And so this is also that third eye, the opinions, right? It's perfect, this blending in of, are we trying to convince? Can we just let go? Can we just agree to disagree and accept and respect one another that we think differently and move on, right? And so kind of transitioning into this energy of our value when we're talking about our opinions, and we're finding this spot of, it's okay to, of when do we speak about it, when do we don't. Sometimes silence is better. Sometimes it's just, our opinion doesn't need to be said. It's not the point of what the conversation, what the collaboration is, right? Sometimes it doesn't need to be there. And it's the same thing with this energy, right? When are there times that we can just surrender in, and we're not forcing it, and we're just looking at our ego and our willpower? If more we lean in on ourselves and trust ourselves and have the confidence in ourselves, that respect comes because we're respecting ourselves. And so we have to have that. And first. That needs to come first in order, and then that shows out, and then that it's where you get the respect. You can't force the respect, right? It's just gained. And so what a big transition, but kind of a beautiful one, coming from that opinions, coming of really knowing how much needs to be said, because you truly know your value too. We're not trying to convince anybody. And we don't need to explain anything either. We don't need to feel like we need to explain, and that's going to be part of this regulation, part of this biting through. We need to force it. We don't need to explain it. You either accept me for who I am, and just, maybe there's certain things we just don't talk about. Why can't it be more like that? And it's not because we're avoiding the fact. We've discussed it already. We know how each other stands, and it's something that we just don't agree on. So why not, continue our relationship another way? And so use the gate of possibility. Why not? And so coming back up into the third eye, bringing it around a little full circle and going up into the head, creating different possibilities, opportunities, bringing in the curiosity, that knowing, that wanting to know, because we can always kind of shift around. We can always play around and see. And sometimes you're not really quite sure, right? And so let's keep going with the cards. Looking at a little fairy guidance with this warning. I love this, not using the force for the last resort. We should all learn how to surrender in that. Listen to our not self theme. And whenever we get that not self theme, draw back and use it as a yellow card, and definitely not force into it. And so that is leaving room, right, for possibilities, opening up. The dormouse. We get this little dormouse, 28. And so, I can't remember. I know I've read this one home. This can represent your home or place where you feel the happiest or the safest. The physical body is also a home for your soul, and at times can be reflected in this card. It can also be about family, close relationships, and childhood memories. It speaks to goals that you may have for your home, maybe moving, renovating, or redecorating. It also encompasses the yard and the gardens. In order to determine what you're being asked to focus on, relax for a moment and take a sense of what comes to mind. Pay attention to your feelings. Where are they guiding you? What emotions does this card bring up? Go with the feeling and ask, what is this about? What is it that I need to look at again, and why? Perhaps you need to clear a trauma from your aura, or it might be that you need to revisit a pleasant, carefree memory from your youth. If you're unhappy with your surroundings, maybe it's a change of residence. Sometimes the energy of a home does not support your comfort and well-being. Sometimes a home just needs to be cleansed. It needs to be in order and cleaned, but also smudged or cleansed on a spiritual level. You can ring bells or even clap hands or drums in all the rooms to break up the stagnant energy. If you choose, visualize doing all of these things. Ask your fairy friends to help. Your physical body, the home of your soul, needs to also be kept clean and in good running order. Do things that are good for your well-being on all levels. Home is where your heart is. And so as we're kind of coming in, right, this self-regulation, knowing our value of our home, and where is our home. And so diving into some of those questions, and also leaving room, leaving possibilities, leaving things open a little bit if you're not really feeling that your home is right. And so there's always different ways that we can settle that we can bring it back in. Let's do these cards. We'll do our herb deck. Last card we'll do for this energy. The impact. We get the plantain, impact and effect on others. Plantain. I didn't realize this was an herb. Definitely not the fruit that I was thinking it was, the plantain. And so let's see what the plantain is all about. Where are you? Okay. The plantain is often known as the nature's bandage. The leaves can be chewed up and held on a sting or a splinter or a wound to protect healing and draw out any of the venom or foreign object. The flat leaf can also be wrapped around the same kind of wounds. The astringency pulls out what's unwanted and then knits in the tissues back together while also providing cooling relief. This drawing action is also useful for drawing out sticky mucus in the lungs as well as in the tooth or gum infections. It's readily available and it grows easily. It uses a drawing action to draw nutrients up from the ground in areas where other plants can't. This means it grows well in hard soil and between the cracks in the sidewalks and other disturbed areas. When the colonizers came to America, they brought this plantain, probably via seed, on their shoes and unwillingly spread it everywhere they went. It earned its name of the white man's foot. We can look at the gifts of the plantain in a few different ways. On one hand, the plantain shows us that medicine is at our fingertips. We have all the knowledge that we need to move forward and heal ourselves. It teaches us resilience through the ability to pull nutrients from wherever it lands. It's one of the most common and successful weeds and teaches us strength and adaptability. On the other hand, it also invites us to consider the impact we have on ourselves and others. Colonizers introduced the study of this plant to America, and luckily it turned out to be an incredible, helpful plant ally. But these people also brought disease, destruction, racism, and violence upon the land that they claimed. Plantain is a reminder that we still have the effect on the world around us, whether we realize it or not. Consider the fact that you reflect on the plantain. Take time to notice the influence you have on those around you. How will your actions or inactions change your surrounding? And so even when we are shifting out of this gate of opinion in which we would be speaking about, and even when we're shifting into our value and how we value ourselves and how we show up and respect ourselves, then the way that we represent ourselves does affect others. It ripples it off. It's also going to affect the way that they're going to treat us by the way that we treat ourselves. It's going to create that ripple energetic effect. And so it's all woven in. It's all woven into our house and how we treat ourselves, our body, our home. Also, how well do we treat our home that we're in reflects on how much we want to take care of ourselves, right? And so all of this is extensions of our energy, of our being, and coming into this time where it's really now tapping in and feeling into what is good for us, good in our heart, what is good for us to value, and other things maybe we don't need to value them. They're not important to us that other people think they are. And so really tapping into our own authenticity and our own desires on that and value. Ready for a shift. I'm excited for this energy. Please drop a comment down below. Let me know how these reports have been resonating with you. Share them along, and subscribe to my channel. I am sending you all so much love.